Hey, welcome into the Monday edition. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Monday morning. Hope everybody had a fabulous weekend. And the Tennessee Titans have won a football game, baby. So how couldn't you have had a good weekend? Joe Rexrode, how we doing?
Yeah, how about that? The light is shining on the Titans. As I look at this Zoom picture, it looks like I also have like a weird light upon me, like I've ascended to heaven.
I was about to say, very heavenly.
Why is that? Does it look weird to you?
It's a little bright, but
Okay.
I kind of dig it.
I'm sorry. I've done nothing different here. I'm sorry. But yeah, doing all right. Less pain in the knee. Thanks.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
How was the navigating around this weekend?
Well, I'm using one crutch for the stairs, and I went to our game against Page. By the way, congrats to Page, best high school team I've ever seen.
Yeah.
They are going to win a state championship, and shout out to our friends, the Aines family. Brendan Aines flipped from Wisconsin to your Tennessee Vols.
Oh yeah,
and he's a missile. He's a missile coming off that edge, but. I actually, it's probably stupid, but I went to the game without my crutches.
Oh boy.
And basically, so this is what you do. So because I'm seriously shuffling along like I'm 117 years old. But what you do is you get on the phone and pretend you're on a call, and then you just sort of like just very slowly move, and it doesn't look like you're walking like someone who's about to die. It just kind of looks like you're just sort of on the phone dawdling, and all of a sudden gradually you move to where, yeah. And I just didn't go into my seats in the bleachers. I just stayed, on field level and watched Page. It's an incredible high school team. But you know what? Nolensville Knights got Tullahoma coming in for the playoff game.
Sure do.
Big time. We owe them from last year. So big home playoff game coming up Friday.
No doubt. Big game coming up on Friday. Nick Keyser, happy Monday morning. How are you?
Good morning, fellas. We kind of had a somewhat sports equinox here in Tennessee this weekend. I would say we were missing a few different things, but given for the time of the year, we saw the Titans win, the Vols win, and the Preds win in one weekend.
And
so
Vanderbilt.
There you go. And Vanderbilt.
That doesn't happen very often.
No, it does not.
But
you were just going to ignore Vanderbilt.
I was getting there.
You were just going to leave them out.
He was going to leave them out.
Alex Story tweeted about this. Did you guys see the tweet for
how
long it's been?
Yeah, he did. And he actually texted me. He's like, Keyser, how do you feel about this? I was like, well, if Vanderbilt was actually good a while back, this would happen more often. He's like, well, thanks for crushing my dreams.
Good gracious. Keyser's all over Vanderbilt this morning.
Yeah, all they did was go win by 10 at Auburn, and they've beat those two teams. The Iron Bowl is a joke to them for the first time since 1955.
Sure is. Just watching back with your feet kicked up. Look at these guys playing their cute little Iron Bowl. That's fun.
Yeah,
isn't it, Vanderbilt?
Exactly.
Yep, big weekend around here. No doubt about it.
So it was, according to Doherty, he went back and did the work on this. It was sometime 2019. I know it was 2019. So it's been basically 5 years since all four of those teams won on the same weekend.
How about that? Well, we will get into Tennessee's win against Kentucky and Vanderbilt's win against Auburn a little bit later in the program. Paul Kuharski from paulkuharski.com will be with us at 7:30. Cory Curtis from News 2 will be with us at 8 o'clock. So we'll get into all that and the Tennessee Titans. In overtime, it looked like they were going to win in regulation. And then Drake May made this unbelievable play at the end of the game for the game-tying touchdown. It goes to overtime. Titans chew up most of the clock in overtime, driving down the field. They kick the field goal. Amani Hooker gets the game-sealing interception, and the Titans get the win. They improve to 2-6. So you got the Patriots now at 2-7. The Titans are at 2-6. Your beloved Carolina Panthers win a game yesterday against the Saints. They get their second win of the season as well. Tony Pollard, 28 carries, 128 yards for the Titans yesterday. Had a touchdown taken off the board because of a holding call on one of the greatest cuts I think I've ever seen. It's a heck of a cut by Tony Pollard in that situation. Mason Rudolph, 20 of 33, 240 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. And Calvin Ridley, 5 catches for 73 yards. Titans get the win overall, Joe. What'd you make of that game, that win for the Tennessee Titans?
Well, the game was a lot of what we've seen. That they did get to 20, so it took extra time, but they got to 20. One thing I think we're going to get today, Robbie, is we're probably going to get some people who are upset, right?
I would assume so.
So so for two reasons, mostly I think the draft pick stuff, and then I know Stilly will probably be like, now this will convince them to not fire everybody. I do hope at least, and that's fine. You feel however you want to feel about it, but I do hope that like anyone who like listened to Brian Callahan's post game presser,
and we're gonna get to that here in just a second. By the way, if you didn't hear it,
we'll get to that. But this is just don't ever think that like a team is going to tank. Okay, like this is like this was like a playoff win for these guys, because when you lose in this league, like there's no, let's just get a good draft pick. That doesn't do anything for anyone. It really doesn't. These people are fighting for their jobs. So I just, if we can get rid of the tank talk, that'd be good. I understand if you're upset with them and you hate watching them and you'd rather them lose and you want the higher pick. I get that. Because I get it when a team, is not really going to get into the mix, and this team's not going to win many more games. But I think good for them they did fight, they did battle, they did have some limitations in this game, and found a way. And there are some good football players on this team. I thought I would start with Tony Pollard.
Yeah, Tony Pollard looked really good yesterday. Like I said, 28 carries, 128 yards for him. And your boy, all he does is make plays, man. All that guy does is make plays. Nick Westbrook-Aine, 5 catches, 50 yards. And why don't you just go ahead and chalk up another touchdown for NWI on the board yesterday, too. The dude's unbelievable.
He's a good football player, and I'll tell you what, Calvin Ridley, a second straight week made a big difference. It wasn't perfect, but he had a drop that's like, man, how do you drop that one? But in overtime, a couple of huge plays for him. So, and look, another going through the positives and the good performances. I thought Jeff Simmons yesterday was pretty hard to block. He was a menace, to that team. And again, look, the Patriots are bad. The Patriots have had their own offensive line struggles. So you always put it in context, but he looked like a guy who wanted to win a game and couldn't be blocked. And that was good to see.
Yep. Good to see. He played well yesterday, got a sack as well. So good for him. I thought basically the second game in a row where Arden Key just looked like an absolute menace out there. Like he was really good. Gets another sack yesterday that separates the quarterback from the football. Harold Landry ends up with a sack yesterday too. So some signs of life from the pass rush, 4 sacks in total for the Titans yesterday. But I thought Arden Key is playing really well. And I don't know if it's a, hey, somebody come rescue me and get me off this team type of thing that he's playing really well for. But the last 2 weeks, Arden Key's been really good, man.
He is absolutely tearing his way into that trading deadline, man.
He is.
No, he made some big plays. Now he also, if you go back and watch like the last play, the Drake May, like I guess basically it was like a Hail Mary from the 5. Man, Arden Key had a chance to end that game. Oh man. Now, May did a nice job of sidestepping him, but boy, he had a shot at that. But yeah, it's amazing the last 2 weeks. It's like he's been launched, he's been slingshotted coming off the line on some of these plays. He's a guy who can give you some of that. Landry had a sack yesterday too. So, the defense, I think Paul Kuharski, who we'll have later, had a good, it's like, I think it was like defense likes to say it's good, but doesn't make big plays in key moments. And,
right.
Gave up that, but they did in overtime. They then immediately put that in Paul Kuharski's face.
They did immediately in Paul Kuharski's face. And, Arden Key, hey, whatever it takes to get done. He's playing with confidence right now, Joe, that, probably he hasn't had since he looked across in practice every day and said, ooh, Andre Dillard. That's probably the last time that Arden Key had this much confidence that he's playing with right now. So good to see. Good to see if going to be an interesting next couple of days for Arden Key to see if he's still a member of the Tennessee Titans or not by the end of it.
Yeah, there's quite a few teams out there apparently, looking for pass rushers. I mean, yeah, that's one of those things that a lot of teams, a few teams in the league are like, oh, we're good. We have enough of that. Lions, of course, desperate for it. Sorry to bring up the Lions.
They're the best team in the NFL.
Yeah, they might be, but they also can't rush the passer.
Yep.
I mean, that's the thing, like they have a lot, but I don't think they're like, I told resident Lions fan over here, I'm like, the best thing that could happen to your Lions is to get smoked today and have zero pass rush because they need to like do something big at the deadline. Now, Arden Key is not doing something big. The Landry thing would be doing something big.
That would
Apparently,
be big.
Zadarius Smith is, another a real possibility. But again, like the Falcons are a team that's 6-3. They they need pass rush badly too. So yeah, I think definitely by the deadline we could see someone else moving out of here. Which guys in that locker room, they just won a game, so I'm sure it's upsetting every time it happens. You get weaker and weaker. And by the way, Quandre Diggs and Lloyd Cushenberry, you're getting weaker by not by design here, but that's the reality of the situation still even after this win.
Well, and just before we continue with the tidal wave of positivity from the Titans for winning the game yesterday, Joe, I do want to say special teams early in that game, I was like, oh boy, here we go. They had the penalty on the opening kickoff for the illegal formation. They gave up another 40-yard punt return. Herndon pointed this out at some point too. He talked about those two things, blocker running into Jaquan Jackson, and that was all still in the first quarter. There was still some times yesterday where it was just an adventure on special teams.
Yeah, at least it, I guess, stopped. But man, given all the scrutiny and everything on that group, and then for them to come out and do that again, I don't think they have answers. So it's like I've said before with Craig Ackerman. It's like, okay, so if everybody's so mad at Ackerman, fire him now, and now you weaken your manpower around special teams, right? I mean, you just take someone out who does all that work, and yeah, you have an assistant coach, but like, what are you going to go hire an interim? You're going to bring up an intern? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so I think in season coach firings are stupid, especially, like it's just like you're just weakening yourself. I mean, you can hold someone accountable at the end of the year, but oh boy. I mean, it continues to be rough on that front.
Just absolutely brutal. But the Titans get the win, so who cares? 20-17.
That's
Titans
right.
get it done yesterday against the Patriots. We'll take your reaction to that all show long on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Plus, a moment yesterday from a prominent member of the Tennessee Titans that I think signifies what this win means inside that locker room. We'll get into that. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Titans get the win, 20-17 against New England yesterday at Nissan Stadium. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025, our phone number. 615-737-1025. Joe, an emotional Brian Callahan in the postgame press conference after the win for the Titans yesterday. You know, he gave his opening statement about, you know, the way the game broke down, and then, talked about overtime and pulling things out and getting a win in that one. And then was asked what this win means to him as the first question in the press conference after the game yesterday. Here's what Brian Callahan had to say on that front.
Just how badly did you guys need this today?
Look at me. I needed it bad, man. It was, we needed it.
So Brian Callahan, kind of break it down to start the press conference yesterday. Really emotional. Clearly, we talked about leading into the game last week, Joe. For the coaching staff, you needed to find a way to go out there and win. And I think Brian Callahan's demeanor in the post-game press conference kind of tells you how much that was the case and how much of a relief it was to finally get that win for him yesterday.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty clear indication. And this would have been, first of all, again, there would have been some Titans fans who've been like, oh, that number one pick is right there for the taking. But for these guys who are actually doing this thing, it would have been devastating. And again, just if you're being real with yourself, and that's still the case, but real with yourself, you may be looking at no more wins. I mean, I don't think that's the case with this team, but I don't see a lot, as we've talked about before on the schedule. I don't see a bunch out there, so this was an opportunity, and they were better than the Patriots. They made some of their typical mistakes, but the big thing is, as Callahan pointed out later in that presser, the turnover thing for once was not a complete albatross around their neck, right? I mean, that's one big thing. And other than that, I mean, I guess there was a lot of the same stuff. They moved the ball some between the 20s, but you did make the one mistake. I mean, I guess I don't know if I put that more on Chig or on Rudolph. It's probably a little bit on both. I mean, Chig probably still has to catch that ball, but it's a super hot fast ball, from short range. And if that play doesn't happen, there's probably not drama at the end of the game, right? But yeah, these guys badly needed something. The negativity, totally understandable, but the negativity has obviously cloaked everything. This is a paper bag kind of season for the Titans. So any positives you can squeeze out of that, you need to do it. I mean, it's hard for me to sit here and say I think Brian Callahan is fighting for his job. I still have my doubts that that's the case, but it's the NFL, and the owners who make rash decisions, as this owner has been proven to do, make rash decisions.
No doubt about it. And look, it gets you to 2-6, which, by the way, you did move up to third place in the AFC South. Shout out to the Jaguars at 2-7 now. So way to go, Titans. You're in third place right now in the AFC South. Like you said, I don't know how many more wins are coming. Look, the Titans still did plenty yesterday to lose that game. Let's make no mistake about it. There's plenty that they did that if you're playing teams that are not named the New England Patriots, you probably don't win yesterday, but you do get the result. You do get the win. And look, I don't know how much of the negativity it's going to put to an end just in terms of the fan base. I mean, look, we're getting people right now on the text line that are just mad that they won yesterday. A lot of people are making fun of Brian Callahan for crying after winning the second game of the year. I mean, there's a lot of negativity right now on the text line and a lot of negativity around the fan base. So I don't know how much that changes with win number 2, knowing that there's probably not very many of those that they've got left this year. But I do think it shows you, like, in that room, like if you thought heading into the game that, well, don't worry, like Brian Callahan has resigned himself to, well, just get through the rest of this year, be as bad as you can, and then go get your guy at quarterback next year as the number 1 pick. I don't think that's currently what Brian Callahan is thinking about. And I thought his reaction yesterday kind of showed that kind of illustrated how bad it's been around there, how much negativity there's been. And I think it was just a little bit of relief yesterday that the game finally broke the way that it did. He did bring up something that is interesting that has not happened all year. It kind of felt like when things started to go wrong on the Titans in games this year, that it just snowballed out of control. And they tied the game up at 17 at the end of regulation. And as soon as they did that, Joe, I was like, God, they're about to lose. Like they're getting ready to come down here and lose to the Patriots and let them tie the game on the last play of the game in regulation. But to be able to come back and win after that, we have not seen the Titans basically have the ability to respond that way all year, and they finally did so yesterday.
Yeah. Now, by the way, as people have pointed out, among these angry people, correctly, that they did. I know someone said a 50-yard punt return. It wasn't a 50-yard punt return, but they did give up punt return on the last drive.
Oh yeah,
or it was not a punt return, but a kickoff return.
Yeah,
right?
it was a punt, I think. Yeah, I think they had the ball and we're trying to run the clock out right before the 2-minute warning. They punted it and gave up like a 20-yard return or whatever it was.
Okay, so that wasn't the overtime kickoff. It was setting up the time. Yeah. So
right.
so the special teams issues did not go away. So I apologize for that. Look, that's the thing. The response in overtime, obviously it's great to win the toss. They still obviously didn't go score the touchdown because they screwed up a snap at a key moment. Of course, You're missing your center. So, all these things going on, but yeah, I thought that drive to come down again, a couple big plays to Ridley, but then Pollard was just, he was tough, man, on that drive in overtime against a tired defense. I thought that was impressive. I thought that was an impressive response. And for everybody to say, people like, oh my God, you're crying. You're 2-6. But again, I look, I get it. Some people wear their heart on their sleeve. So we'll see. Maybe that's what Brian Callahan, that'll be a normal thing. I used to cover a diminutive basketball coach who cried and a lot.
Yep.
Some people are just like that.
I think Dick Vermeil cried after every win.
Well, yeah, exactly. But you got to understand why the dude would be like that, right?
Yes.
Titans fans, I understand you're not like, yay, my team is 2-6, but this is the difference between, cheering for a team or covering a team, writing, whatever, talking about a team and like actually being in that thing, man. I mean, it's been a horrific season. And again, it's not like they just get blown out every game. They get blown out some games, but they've had some games they easily could have won that they've blown, or that the other team just beat them, and the negativity gets crazy, and it's hard to keep it has to be hard to keep a team together, right, through all that. So I think it seems to me, as he was talking, there was more of that little segment that he was talking about, that it's the response of some of the guys, to the situation that got him emotional. Some of the guys who are still out there fighting like they're fighting for a playoff spot, even though they aren't.
Man, we got people mad on text line today, Joe. Is anybody happy they won the game yesterday? Is anybody happy the Titans? If you went, wasn't it kind of a relief to look out and say, man, how about that? They won a game. I don't know how many more of those we're going to see this year. People are mad on the text line. One texter says, I almost cried out of anger. We can't even tank good. We're bad at everything. This is from an unnamed texter on the text line. Dark on the text line the first 30 minutes of the show.
Man, well, look, I didn't expect to come in today and see a rejoicing town. I think a lot of people, once fans move on to the draft, and your team's not going away, that your team's not going to get in the playoffs. I get it, but just you got to understand that the human beings doing this stuff feel differently than you do. You know what I mean? It's just so. I mean, to me, it's like what you hope is whatever, win or lose, there's still going to be a lot more losses than wins moving forward. You hope you see things like Simmons and Sweat doing well. Brownlee, Ridley, things like this, right? I mean, this is what you want to see. You want to do individual things, and you just got to understand these people are working their butts off to try to win, and they're going to keep trying to win.
I will say, Titans pick up win number 2. 2 wins is a freaking log jam in this league right now, Joe Rexrode. They went from the number 2 overall pick, this is according to tankathon.com, to the number 9 overall pick yesterday. the Jaguars, the Patriots, the Saints, the Panthers, the Browns, the Raiders, the Giants, the Dolphins, and the Titans all at 2 wins in the league this year, which is kind of amazing on November the 4th.
Yeah, it is. But like Mike in Lebanon's like, I'm crying too because the Titans lost number 1 pick. Guys, I mean, there's 9 games left.
There's plenty of time.
Yeah, I mean, like there's a lot of football to play, a lot of losses to come for all those teams, probably realistically. So I'm sure that they're going to be. I mean, I think they'll be top 5 would be my guess. Maybe they'll anger you and win some of these games. They'll sweep the Jags and shock the Vikings, and who knows? But there's a long way to go. I don't know that it's time to weekly watch that pick lineup. Although I'm not.
Hey, what tackle you think they
you
take
will.
at number 9 overall?
Well, that's our next segment, right?
Okay, yeah, I think we're going to get into that. Get into all of that. Let's quickly go to our 1025 The Game phone line. Welcome in David. David, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, good morning, guys. I guess I'm a little bit more sympathetic. I know I have very high expectations, but I think most of the players and especially the staff do of themselves. And I think if we're just a little bit more patient, you got to understand there's so much newness on this team. They're not going to come out with a high a win percentage rate, but I'm excited to see what happens as they develop, and that just needs a little extra time, in my opinion. So anyway, I'll hang up and listen, and hope you all have a great day.
Yep, thanks for the call, David. Finally, Joe, we got some people excited over here. Thank you.
Well, we got a Mike from PA basically to quickly. He had a long test, but he's like basically he's hoping they lose all season. Then as soon as the Pats tied it, felt like his heart got ripped out. Right? I mean, There's still you're programmed to root for your team to win, right?
That's right. Hey, that's what I'm
Come
talking
on
about.
now.
They got it done yesterday.
Way to be honest, Mike and PA.
Absolutely. We'll take more of your reaction on the Titans win against the Patriots. Your reaction as well to Brian Callahan, his emotions after the game. All that coming up. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game. Tune in to 94.9 The Fan today for Vanderbilt women's basketball. Commodores will be at Memorial Gym taking on Lipscomb. Tip-off at 11 a.m. Pre-game begins at 10:45. Coverage also available on the 94.9 The Fan app and at 949thefan.com. Tune in to 93.3 FM Totally Hits Nashville today as well for MTSU men's basketball. Blue Raiders taking on Oglethorpe at home. Tip-off at 11 a.m. Pre-game beginning at 10:30. Coverage also available on the Totally Hits Nashville app and at totallyhitsnashville.com. Joe, I expect a full breakdown, a scouting report of Oglethorpe by show's end.
Wait, what?
MTSU's taking on Oglethorpe today, and I want you to break it down.
I honestly have never heard of that.
Not in my life have I ever heard of that school, but I love the name.
I thought for a minute you were like, there's a certain player on the team, and the
No.
other team, Oglethorpe. That sounds like a character from Trading Places. Oglethorpe. Okay, I will look it up. I will give you a full breakdown, possibly. Baylor. Opening night, Baylor Gonzaga tonight. Man, are you pumped,
Never been more excited for anything in my entire life, I don't think.
dude? It's at freaking, I guess 10:30 our time.
Oh,
my
good.
Gosh. Yeah, I know. But I really want to watch it. So
Are you
I
gonna?
don't know.
Are you staying up?
I mean, I don't think I can, but I really want to. So it's I don't know. We'll see. Maybe an amazing nap can take place. Maybe I can just do an all-nighter before the show tomorrow.
Why not? The pre-show meeting starts at 2:30, so we'll see you there right
That
after
is
the game.
true. I think you flow right into it. Get a little snack, pre-show meeting. Yep, good call.
Got one texter says, count me in as happy about the win. We finally got one on the text line, Joe. Somebody happy about the win. I do want to get to this point from Ed as well. Ed says, who would have guessed Robby and Rexrode after week 8 are reassuring the fan base that the Titans will lose more and to be confident in that. That is something we've had to do on the program today. Guys, don't worry.
Don't worry.
There's some more losses coming.
Plenty of losing ahead. This is where I get with fans. Like, so here's a text, unnamed texter. It says, morning guys, these fans, air quotes, that cheer for the guys to lose, I don't consider real fans. No matter what it's going like, you should want your team to win. The thing is, I'll quickly flip on those people too, like sometimes you get a little sunshiny. I mean, like there's a middle ground. Like, I understand. I mean, I have been there. I think most people have been there, right? Where it's like you just know your team is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
It's not going to make the postseason, and so you'd rather have the highest pick possible. I mean, I get that. I really do. It's just that to me, it's just the line is if you actually think they're going to tank, right?
Yes.
If you can't understand the difference and what they're in, this league is so fleeting. Like Nathaniel Hackett is never going to get another chance to be a head coach. He had one terrible year in Denver. Is that fair? I don't know. Probably, but it's just the point is, like you're gonna quote an Eminem song. You only get one shot, and mom spaghetti, blah blah blah.
Nice.
So I mean, like, and that's just the coaching. I mean, the players, again, it's like there's some people who have job security and have the guaranteed money in the long-term deals. How many? What percentage in this league? Go look it up. It's a very small. It's the people we talk about most, but it's a small number in this league. So you just have to understand that. As long as you have that, to me, there's that middle ground where we can all live in.
Well, by the way, like,
happily,
I do not buy into that text there of like, I don't consider Titans fans who want their team to lose real fans. Like, I don't believe that either. Like, there have been situations.
No, I don't.
And I think there are legitimate situations where, like, as a fan, it is okay to root for your team to lose and get a high draft pick. We talked about this a while ago as it related to hockey, right? Like, the Predators and the Blackhawks took two different approaches. Predators tried to navigate through it and kind of rebuild on the fly, and they had mixed results there. And then, obviously this past offseason, they went and spent a ton of money and all that stuff. Blackhawks took a totally different approach, right? Like, they were okay with totally sucking for about 2 years, and they ended up with Connor Bedard and another high draft pick this year. So there's different ways to do it. And if you're one of those fans that believes that the ultimate path to winning a Super Bowl is going to be accomplished more easily by being bad this year and getting, number one pick, then I don't begrudge you for that. I do think you have to recognize that while as you as a fan can feel that way, and I don't think there's anything wrong with feeling that way, I think you have to recognize that the head coach of the football team and the players in the locker room are not going to feel that way. Like they're not going to do that. So you have to understand that like both of those things are okay. You can be a fan, I think, and want your team to lose and get, high draft picks and think that that's ultimately the quicker solution to getting back into contention rather than winning 5 or 6 games this year. And I think that's okay. You also have to recognize while you're having that discussion that Brian Callahan is not going to operate that way.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's it. So, like, again, I can't begrudge anybody for wanting them to lose at this point. I can't begrudge it. Now, I guess I would say if you're at the game, like how I would handle it, like, if you're at the game, you still like you cheer for your team, right? Like you support them, but then deep down when they blow it, you're like, okay, all right, feeling good about that. Like maybe you don't actively participate in trying to help them lose, like by booing them or cheering for the other team, right? But no, it's totally understandable. I mean, look, I don't think anyone has illusions. The Patriots are a bad team. They're right there with the Titans. They are one of those teams that's going to be right there, fighting for one of those. Again, not fighting, but ending up with one of those really high picks, right? So, I mean,
Yes.
like, no one should have any illusions about where this team is going. Yeah, but you just have to understand. I personally, to me, like for Brian Callahan, when I saw that emotion at the podium, I mean, I felt good for the guy because, this has to be hard. I mean, I think he's a smart guy. I don't know yet if he's a good head coach. I do think yesterday, Robby, that just on his front, I thought the play calling at times, I thought it was good. Probably more early again still, like the scripted stuff, right? But, I mean, I thought it was pretty good. They have to get the plays in quicker. Real quick, Oglethorpe's out of Georgia. People are mad about that. They're in Cumberland's conference. Also, Josh, I get the MRI results today. I will keep you posted on this beautiful knee of mine.
By the way, 13 points scored in the second half yesterday for the Titans. Making a little progress. Now, again, the second half was extended a little bit going into overtime, but 3 points in the third quarter, obviously the touchdown in the fourth quarter, and then another 3 in overtime. 13 points for the Titans in the second half. That's got to be a record this year.
I mean, that's got to be the most, and that'd be a good stat. Maybe PK has that when we have him on later. That's the most since when? I mean, how many did they score in the Dolphins game in the second half? That might have been. That might have been it. But besides that, it's a rarity. We can all agree they're averaging like 4 points a game in a second half. So, yes, there's some progress. Brian, great 2 wins. They now beat the depleted Dolphins and took OT to beat one of the worst teams in the league. Again, no one's getting the Super Bowl parade ready. But and I agree. Dave says if Levis had done this and had played well, then it would be different. Yeah, I agree. Like, right? Like if there's some turning of the corner of the young QB in a win like this, then that's different than Mason Rudolph did okay and they won, right? So
Mason Rudolph
that's
won
another
2 games.
He has, but that's another. Well, no, actually, that win does count on Levis's record by the way, Robby, because Levis did start that game. So
he did play one series in that game.
This is Rudolph
0-0.
He threw a pick, but this is Rudolph's first win. That is certainly something I suppose we can get into. Also, is Levis going to? Here's a text. We suck at sucking.
People are really mad on the text line. My God, are people mad on the text line today? They're more mad than they were when they were losing last week.
I think we'd gotten to that kind of like that rock bottom and like, okay, is it anger or apathy? And now it's back to it's just flipping the switch of anger with a win. So.
Holy smokes.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs.
Oh, man. People are really upset on this text line. We'll continue to take your reaction. 615-737-1025. We'll have Paul Kuharski from paulkuharski.com joining the show coming up at 7:30. All that ahead, Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game. Welcome back in. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Titans win 20-17, get to 2-6 on the year. We've discussed the logjam that is now firmly in place in the National Football League for teams with 2 wins. 9 of them, 9 teams with 2 wins or less. I mean, I don't guess they're at all less. They're all at 2. Congratulations to Patriots, by the way. According now to tankathon.com, if the season ended today, they would have the number 1 pick, according to tankathon.com, Joe. It's a way to go, Patriots, for losing that game yesterday.
Wow. Well, congratulations. Of course, the Patriots are, on that front, because Ultra BMW on the YouTube chat points this out. Side note: Drake May looks like a guy. I would tend to agree. I mean, we'll see, but I mean, certainly you can see the athleticism with him. And I thought he made some really good. Obviously, the last play was a little bit of a prayer, but I mean, he kept the play alive and he got the play made. So they may have their guy, and then their pick would be on something else. I mean, obviously it's his first year, so they're certainly, I think, not going to be thinking QB there.
No.
A little bit disappointed. I was offered yesterday, someone like, hey, would you like me to send video of Joe Milton warming up? I was like, well, if he throws 100 yards, remember the Joe Milton ahead of Drake May in preseason talk?
Yes, I do.
The NFL preseason is just an amazing thing.
It really is. Every year. And all of a sudden, somehow we kind of fall for it every year, at least to some degree. We do.
I know.
Maybe not to that degree.
Hey, Joe in Nashville on Twitter, a faithful listener. I like his take on this. He says, temperature turns down a little air lets out of the balloon, a good day. That's a Titans fan take on this. So, I mean, you gotta, I think you have to at least realize, these people you're rooting for that you hoped would be good this year and all this stuff. I mean, you gotta get why this was so big for them, right?
Yeah, no doubt. Sean in Kentucky says, Titans are cheeks, but Patriots are hot garbage. Enjoy the win, Dad, was the quote from his 11-year-old son yesterday. I kind of like that. Dad, don't worry. Patriots are hot garbage. Just enjoy this for a minute. I like that. Sometimes we got to look to our youth for a little perspective on all this stuff.
I think that's great perspective from an 11-year-old. Although I do wonder, is hot garbage worse than cheeks?
That's a good question. We got to go back to our scale. Dog water certainly is.
Well, I thought we had trash, then dog water, then cheeks as the worst.
Okay.
Isn't that right?
I believe you're correct.
But hot, we didn't take into account hot garbage.
No, I think the garbage we discussed was normal temperature. So we got to see what the
garbage
that
was. Garbage that creates a grease fire. That's kind of another level.
No doubt. Let's go back to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in, Glenn. Glenn, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm just still kind of swirling in confusion over all of the picks that have led to all of this in the first place. And I know that the jury is still out, but I know we still have to get through this season. I know everybody's got it. You either put your thumbs up or your thumbs down, and however you're going to take the season. But we still got to move forward eventually. And I know that y'all have Jared's opinion and your opinion, and they clash a lot about what's going to go. You clear a house, you do whatever. But in the long run, we still have to face. Are we going to get good picks? Are we going to get players where their best years are in front of them? Or are we going to keep finding players that their best years are behind them, and we're just hoping for something to come out of it? So I'm just going to let you guys. I'm just going to hang up and listen.
Yep, thanks for the call, Glenn. Appreciate it. I mean, I don't know that yesterday's win changes anything, Joe, in the long-term discussion about this team, right? It's still, let's look at the schedule here. I mean, we've talked about it last week. There's not a ton of more wins left. I mean, I know it's the NFL. Weird things happen. But, I mean, in reality, this is just not a very good football team. I don't think there's a ton of wins left. So, I mean, we very well at the end of the year could be looking at, 4-13, 5-12. What's the record going to end up being at the end of the year? It's not going to be good. So we know that. I think some of the questions that we've talked about in the last few weeks here are still going to be questions as the season goes along here. How does Amy Adams Strunk view the long-term plan? does that put Carthon and Brinker in any sort of jeopardy to lose their job at the end of the year? Like yesterday's win didn't change that for me. Like I still think that's going to be a question at the end of the year. I think, I mean, the one thing that I've always been kind of hesitant on is like, it is Brian Callahan's first year. I think that,
Right.
you know, to think that 8 games into his tenure, that you have really any sort of definitive answer one way or another on his ability to be a head coach in the NFL. I still think it's premature for that. So that's the one where, you know, we talked about cleaning house last week. That's the one where it's still really difficult for me to get behind is the Brian Callahan part of this. But like yesterday's win doesn't change some of the fundamental questions that they've got to answer moving forward here. And then I'm really curious to see what the owner's viewpoint is, those things as they move forward.
Yeah. Well, and you get into that thing, and it kind of reminds me of the Preds conversation, you know, when John Hines was coach, it was kind of like, you know, Stilly leading the charge, you know, he's got to be fired. And to me, it was like, so is it okay? Is his coaching the issue, or is it that they have a mediocre team, which would be the GM, right? You know, that you do
By the way,
separate
John
those
Hines
things.
coaching his butt off right now in Minnesota.
How about that? How about the Heinzer? So, you know, like there's that too. It's like, well, if this is so bad, then how are you going to blame this, right? I mean, I know that to some extent they go hand in hand, but they are different jobs. I mean, Brian Callahan is coaching a not very good football team, and to me, the front office stuff. I know it's like they're going to have a high pick, so you know it'll be like, is this the group you want making the pick?
Right.
And that's fair. I think as we move forward with Callahan, I think the big thing here to me is Levis getting healthy, coming back, and do we see progress of him? Even if it's not progress where it's like, oh, okay, actually, he should come back next year. I think we're a long way from that. But progress at all? I mean, that's a coaching thing. That's supposed to be Brian Callahan's specialty, right? So I think that would be something on the coaching front that's important to track regardless of wins and losses. And on the other side, I'm looking at L'Jarius Sneed, and I'm saying, my goodness,
yeah,
there's 3 straight, okay, that you gave up a 3rd-round pick. And I'm looking at Chidobe Awuzie, hasn't played. And it's just like, you know, someone brought this up in the text line. Like, they have not been on the field together. Like things like that, you know, certain players and acquisitions, what goes on with them. Now, in the meantime, we are seeing an uptick, a much needed uptick for Ridley, which is important.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, still needs to catch the ball when it hits him in the chest. But yes. Made a couple of big plays for sure in that game yesterday. Let's go back to our 102.5 The Game phone line. Welcome in Brandon. Brandon, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, good morning, guys. This is my first time calling. I'm a long-time listener, though.
Thank you.
But I caught myself yesterday, like, you know, like I root for the Titans, but like I wanted to see them lose because, like, you know, everybody talks about the draft pick situation. But, like, my question is, like, you know, is there a quarterback in this class that really is worth tanking for? You know, or is this a situation to where, like, you know, maybe we're looking at tanking so that we can get a high pick so that we can trade it to a bad team and hopefully get like the, you know, the Bears situation to where, like, you know, they traded away the first pick, got a haul, and then got the first pick the next year to draft the best quarterback since, you know, whoever. But, you know, like, that's my question. Do you think that there's somebody in this class that's even worse, like, thinking that they could be the future of our franchise? So I'll hang up and listen.
Thanks for the call, Brandon. Appreciate it. Joe, real quickly
nice
on that
try,
front,
Brandon.
Without getting us back fully into draft talk, I do have one stat that I want to read for you that can bring back your favorite nickname. I mean, Jackson Dart looked pretty good on Saturday. 25 of 31, 515 yards, 6 touchdowns for Ole Miss. Pretty good stuff from Dart.
Yeah, there we go. I mean, I don't know if it's too early or the kids well, do kids even know what sharp means? I mean, who knows? That movie came out a long time ago. Sharp for Dart. Roy G. Biv says, man, Rexrode should work PR for the Titans. Great apologist. Wow. Okay.
Thanks, Roy.
At least I read your text.
615-737-1025.
All is well.
Our phone number. More thoughts on the Titans to get to on the text line coming up next. A lot of people weighing in this morning. We really appreciate that. We'll get Paul Kuharski with us at 7:30. Cory Curtis coming up at 8 o'clock. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keys are here with you on this Monday morning. Paul Kuharski will be with us at 7:30. We'll get his thoughts. Titans 20-17 win yesterday against the Patriots. Cory Curtis was 2 for his weekly visit coming up at 8 o'clock. And we will also get into Tennessee taking down Kentucky and Vanderbilt going on the road and taking down the Auburn Tigers coming up here in just a few minutes at 7:15. Right now, taking more youths on the Titans and their win against the Patriots. 615-737-1025, our phone number. 615-737-1025. Enjoy a game yesterday where, it came out over the weekend again. Will Levis not quite ready to go with the shoulder. So for those who thought that, I guess they were holding Will Levis out for the Buffalo and Detroit games to set him up for success against the Patriots. Not the case yesterday. Unable to go against the Patriots. Rudolph back in there, 20 of 33, 240 yards, 2 touchdowns, did have the 1 interception. All in all, though, Joe, I thought Rudolph played well in yesterday's game. And we brought up the receiving numbers earlier. 5 catches for Ridley, 73 yards, 5 catches for NWI for 50 yards and another touchdown. But I thought for the most part, Mason Rudolph played pretty well.
Yeah, he was pretty good, and the protection here and there, there was someone pointed out, like I think Santa maybe, the protection LD protection was not terrible. There were times certainly at right tackle where the right tackle thing happened to them, but for the most part they gave him time. They got the ball, they got the ball out fast. They ran the ball, but he was pretty good.
He was pretty good, and the offense gets to 20 points, even though needed overtime to get there. But anytime you're in the 20s this year, Joe, I'll take it. Some progress being made.
That's a dub. That's a dub. Speaking of a dub, I want to read this from Megan. She says, I won't fault other fans for wanting the highest draft pick possible, but the offseason is too long for me not to root for a win anytime the Titans step on the field. Felt good to see some smiles on the players/coaches' faces. So there you go.
There you go.
As I run PR for the Titans, Megan, I thank you. You've helped me. We'll put a sunshiny spin on everything.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
But no, I mean that's a totally understandable thing too, right?
Yes.
All you do is talk the entire offseason about hoping you have a good team. So how do you flip the switch and root for losses this quickly?
Look, I can tell you from my perspective, it is nice to be sitting here today talking about like something different with the team. Now, as a texter pointed out earlier, I've seen all I need to see from Mason Rudolph. Like, I'd be fine with not having to watch Mason Rudolph play football again this year. And it's nothing to do with him, but like, we know what Mason Rudolph is. He's a good backup in the league. And we know that. And we've known that kind of heading into the year. Like, I do think there's probably a little bit of difference if Levis is the quarterback yesterday and they find a way to go out there and win. And he looks like he's made some progress. Like, that's still something that we've just not seen so far this year. So, it remains to be seen. Maybe that happens at some point this year. But it is nice, just from my perspective, to be sitting here on Monday, Joe, and to not be talking about the Titans getting their head bashed in for a week. It's a nice little change up that they've thrown us here. I like it.
It is. Now it's a change up again. At this point, they've done enough damage that there's going to be someone mad every Monday, no matter what, right?
No doubt.
I guess there's just not going to be a complete happy Monday, and that's fine. That's just how it goes. There is college football that we're going to get to that should be making people around here feel better. But yeah, if Levis were doing this, that would be different. To your point there, the whole conspiracy theory that they just were faking the injury so he doesn't have to get humbled further by Buffalo and Detroit, that's out the window. I wonder if Stilly is going to pretzel his brain to make it into it's actually some other conspiracy theory. But
I think he's going to apologize today. I think that may happen.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
Okay. That'd be quite a thing. I hope that's true. But to me, I think no differently at all about that situation. And look, if you're Brian Callahan right now, and it doesn't even have to be your own inner thoughts, you talking to your coaches too, you may sit there and say, well, we have a better chance to win more games with Mason Rudolph than we do with Will Levis, and this is where a first-year coach should not have to worry about such things, right? Because, again, the point of the season was Levis. The point of the season was not contending, because no one seriously thought this team was going to contend. Again, how many people even picked them to get to the playoffs? They didn't pick them to be the worst team. They didn't pick them to get the playoffs either. This season's about Will Levis, and he needs to be in there as soon as he's physically able, and I think he will be. I mean, it doesn't make any sense for that to go otherwise, but I'm sure, Brian Callahan, because if Levis doesn't make strides here when he comes back, then it's going to be a step down from what Mason Rudolph is doing.
Yep, no doubt about that. Got one texter that says, would love for the Titans to trade for Justin Fields. Maybe Fields could be the next Steve McNair. Number one, I don't think the Titans are going to trade for Justin Fields. And number two, Joe, honestly, like if they did, like would you feel much different about the quarterback situation now with Fields in there than you do right now? Like Fields has had his moments where he's been okay. But, I mean, he just got benched again for Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is playing really well, and the Steelers look better with Russell Wilson at quarterback than they did with Justin Fields. Like, I just – like, Justin Fields is not a guy that you would trade for and then I think feel comfortable about having your answer at quarterback moving forward. So, to me, like, if you're making a trade for a quarterback, whether it's now or in the offseason, it would have to be someone – that you feel like has a legitimate shot to be your long-term quarterback. And I just don't know that you could view Justin Fields that way.
I'm with you. I've been holding out hope with him. I've been a big Justin Fields guy from him at Ohio State. And I just, at this point, I think this Pittsburgh thing kind of shows, it's just, I just don't think he's ever going to quite get there to where he's a really good starter in this league. I think he's going to be a backup most of his career. He'll get another chance, but to me, if you're going to do a trade or something like that, then it's got to be for someone who has demonstrated high level of starting play in the league, and that would be more of a shorter term, older guy, right? Or that could be a signing too. It doesn't have to be a trade, but you know what I mean.
Or you could go straight up Levis for Anthony Richardson. See how that goes.
Oh, there you go. By the way, it went well with the Flacco. Like, what, they get 10 points last night?
Yeah, they were winning.
Good job, Colts.
Yeah,
they were winning at one point, but yeah, there you go. How about that? I guess apparently Diana Rossini reported that teams have been reaching out to the Colts on acquiring Richardson, which is, I mean, I guess it's worth a call. Some teams believe in him still. I'm definitely not out on him yet, but with Justin Fields, man, I don't think he's gonna. You see the difference when Russ goes in there. And Russ has had his struggles in recent years. I just don't think he's quite going to be there. He's going to be an enticing prospect who doesn't quite get over the hump, in my opinion.
One thing that is going to be interesting with the Titans, if this continues to go this way and you get to the end of the year and it's just impossible to view Levis as the starter next year, like what they do and what they're able to do is going to be pretty interesting. We've talked about, like, free agent wise, it's not great out there at the quarterback position at the moment. Now, look, people get bought out of their contracts, and there's always somebody like random quarterback moving over the last 2 or 3 years that just happens now in the league where it didn't used to happen. Maybe you could get yourself in the mix. But the bottom line is, we talked about some of the questions that you have about the Titans are not changing with the win yesterday. The Will Levis one doesn't change one iota with the win yesterday. Really interested to see what that solution ultimately is going to be and how the Titans decide to do that, whether it's via draft, via trade, via free agents, whatever that case is.
Yeah. And to the earlier caller, what was his name called about the draft? Brandon. I mean, to answer the question, Brandon, I don't, I mean, again, this is going to be a tiny little sliver of draft talk. I don't think that there's a QB in this draft that right now I look at and say, oh, absolutely. I mean, personally, I think Shedeur Sanders has the highest upside of all these guys. But I don't consider him, I mean, he's not Caleb Williams as a prospect. No. I don't think he's Drake May as a prospect, so, for obviously Jaden Daniels right now. I mean, like I'm a full on believer in him. I don't think he's Jaden Daniels, so this is not the year where you want to necessarily be there to get a QB. But again, even the years that it is the year, for example, 2015 was the year, and it was Mariota or Winston, and both of them are backups. Yeah. So that's the reality of the NFL.
Hey, Cam Ward could be fun. I don't know how good he's going to be in the NFL, but he could be fun.
Let me tell you something. His arm talent and the throws he makes, incredible, dude. Some of the decisions he makes, like the pick he threw in the fourth quarter,
It's pretty awful.
It's amazing some of the stuff he decides to do. But I will say, I still that you know what I may. You're right. Maybe Cam Ward's a better prospect than Shedeur. I don't know, but there's definitely not. This is a step down year overall at that position, unfortunately for the Titans.
No doubt about it. 615-737-1025. Our phone number. Paul Kuharski will be with us at 7:30. We'll get his thoughts on the Titans win against the Patriots. Tennessee takes down Kentucky. Vanderbilt with another win on the road to become bowl eligible against Auburn. We'll get into all that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, our phone number. Paul Kuharski will be with us here in about 13-ish minutes. Get his thoughts on the Titans win against the Patriots yesterday. Joe, Tennessee gets a win over Kentucky this weekend, 28-18, the final score. A similar scenario, a similar script to what it's been the last few weeks for Tennessee in terms of the lack of production in the first half. Now, they did actually score points in the first half this time, albeit only 7. But 14 in the third quarter, another 7 in the fourth quarter, 28 points for Tennessee. They win 28-18. It came about, the struggles did, Joe, a little bit differently offensively in this game. They dropped, I think, a total of 3 touchdown passes throughout the game. Missed 3 field goals, which was not good, and they got a problem right now at kicker that they got to get figured out. I thought Nico, basically from the jump, Joe, was pretty good and was pretty accurate throughout the game. He ended up 28 of 38 for 292, 1 touchdown, no picks. But again, there's 3 or 4 drops in the game that could have made those numbers look way better, and a couple of those at least would have been touchdowns. Dylan Sampson, 27 carries, 142 yards, 2 touchdowns. And yet again, a situation, albeit against a Kentucky offense that's not been very good all year, a situation for Tennessee where they're not allowing more than 20 points in a game. So you can continue that streak if you're the Vols. What did you make of Tennessee's win against Kentucky on Saturday?
Yeah, an alarmingly close game. A game that was definitely dicey at times. Again, the first half stuff is insane, how they aren't scoring because they're getting chances to score. So what you lose in that is, I thought that was clearly Nico's best game. Like you said, I mean, first of all, the numbers are great as they are. And then Brazel drops a TD. And what was the shot over the middle? Was that Brazel?
Kitzelman.
No. That was Kitzelman? Okay.
And then Nimrod dropped one later in the game.
That's the one I was thinking of. The Nimrod one was like a dime.
Yes.
I mean, in that. So, like, it just doesn't reflect to me his progress. I think Vols fans should be thrilled after this game by what they saw with him. And I just, the other stuff, sometimes that gets into your head, just the ability to just squander so many scoring opportunities. It's weird. It's super weird in the first half, especially like at home, with all everything else going for you in the crowd and all that stuff. By the way, I think Mike Wilson, he did a story listening to the speakers to hear if they were piping in the crowd noise. So good job, Mike Wilson. But yeah, it's weird for them to be in these close games like with Florida and Kentucky at home. But again, I think Nico is taking strides. And so I think really overall Vols fans should be pretty encouraged after that one. And you just have to get to the point where you stop squandering these opportunities.
I mean, if you start hitting on like half of these, you're going to be in really good shape if you're them, right? Like, you don't even have to hit on all of them, but like hit on, and you got a situation, and Dylan Sampson hadn't fumbled his entire Tennessee career. Now 2 weeks in a row, he's lost a fumble. You're dropping touchdown passes. In previous weeks, it's been you're missing wide open passes from the quarterback position. Like, you start hitting on like half of these, and you're winning certainly the Kentucky game comfortably. You're probably feeling good in the Florida game too. I mean, you missed some in the Alabama game in the first half. And look, you're never going to be perfect, and you could always make an argument the other way that, teams miss on chances against Tennessee too. And I get that. I'm just saying, like, Heupel's been preaching, we're close. And you could see it. It still doesn't change how mystifying it is that combined in the last 4 first halves for this team, Joe, they got 7 points combined in those 4 first halves.
No, it's wild. And again, it's not like that doesn't reflect, they're moving the ball, like the yards per play, total yards, all that stuff. It's not adding up to 0. It's just like they are one way or the other screwing it up. Great text here. First half Vols against second half Titans would be quite a battle. Yeah, there you go. Would. Yeah, but the thing is, Saturday to me was still a very good day. Sorry if I'm sounding too PR there, Roy G. Biff. It was a very good day for the Vols. Nico looked really good. They're not gonna put together this dominant offense. I think they have some limitations at O-line and receiver. You're right, that are just reality. Dylan Sampson got to stop fumbling, but he's still an amazing player, and he has the Tennessee record for touchdowns, which is amazing at this point, 19 with a long way to go. But also a great night on the playoff front.
Yeah.
A bunch of teams lost that help the Vols overall when you look at the picture, Pittsburgh and Penn State and a bunch of teams out there that are contenders who just got knocked down a notch. Texas A&M losing at South Carolina.
Iowa State, K-State. Yep.
Iowa State. Yeah. The Big 12 really, really got, the Big 12 is looking at whoever wins the title, So I think the Big 10 and SEC after Saturday look a lot better for each getting 4 teams in. And that, again, if the Vols take care of business and look respectable at Georgia, they're going to get in.
Yep.
And they could do more than that. I think they could go win at Georgia, but I'm just saying that's the minimum, and they should be in this sucker.
Yep, I would agree. Vanderbilt gets the win against Auburn, 17-7 on the road. Really good performance by Vanderbilt's defense in the game. The numbers are not great offensively. Pavia ends up 9 of 22 for 143 yards, a couple of touchdowns, and I did make some big throws, particularly early in that game. Vanderbilt only 84 yards on the ground. So not a great day in terms of offensive production, but Joe, they did enough. And think about this before the year. We're 9 games into the year. Vanderbilt already bowl eligible at 6-3.
And that's the caveat as I talk about the Vols and their situation. I firmly believe we're looking at a good football game when Tennessee comes into Nashville. And that, of course, could be if Vanderbilt's still holding out hope in the playoff. They'd have to win out, and the Georgia State loss is really tough. Of course, You win out and you beat LSU on the road and you beat Tennessee, then they'd at least be in the discussion. It's an incredible job. Clark Lee, to me, he should be right there with Curt Cignetti in terms of National Coach of the Year. I really think that he should be in that discussion. Auburn's offense is good. Now they turn it over, but they they came into that. They ran all over Kentucky the week before. Their overall numbers are excellent. Vanderbilt held them to 7 yards, didn't let them run a leg. I couldn't believe how good Vanderbilt's defense was, because Auburn actually did as good a job against that offense and Pavia as anybody's done all year.
Yep.
At least. And they still find a way to win that game by double figures. It's truly, to me, incredible. What a job. And they're just tough. They're a tough, solid football team. And Tennessee Vanderbilt at the end of the year is going to be, I think, a good football game. It's going to be, I'm already excited for it, and we're a month away.
Yep, I am too. And like I said, the preseason win total, if memory serves me correctly, I think it was 3.5 over under for Vanderbilt. They've obviously blown by that. And look, I look at it, they're going to have a chance to beat Tennessee. I think they're going to have a chance to beat LSU. Vanderbilt, South Carolina is going to be pretty interesting, because South Carolina, what a win they had, even though they have just the most insufferable head coach of all time. What a win they had over the weekend against Texas A&M, and then that guy had to ruin it all in the locker room after the game. Just stupid.
That was so beautiful. Absolutely lovely.
Moron. It's unbelievable.
I love it. Go Shane. Hey, yeah, he brought his wife in and sang a nice song. If anybody doesn't watch it, go check it out. It's fantastic stuff. I tell you what, seriously, South Carolina, that is a team that can really rue what has happened to them. They totally should have won the LSU game.
Yeah.
They had some rough calls, and they lost Lenore Sellers. That's a, and all these teams SEC, you can find a week or two where you're like, how did that happen? Like Ole Miss losing at home to Kentucky.
Yeah.
How the heck did that happen? Right. Speaking of short for dart, shout out to Kyle Tucker. But South Carolina they look awfully good. Now, I know at home at night, that is a different deal with them, but South Carolina Vanderbilt's a big one this week.
Yep, looking forward to that. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Paul Kuharski from paulkuharski.com will be with us coming up next. We'll get his reaction to a 20-17 win for the Tennessee Titans against the Patriots yesterday. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Monday morning. Titans win, baby, 20-17 against the Patriots yesterday. And to help us talk more about that, we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And welcome in our man Paul Kuharski from PaulKuharski.com. PK, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, guys. I had a good night's sleep, and I'm wide awake and ready to go.
Wow, PK's fired up this morning. I got to say, before we get going on the Titans, I was walking around the concourse Saturday night at Bridgestone Arena, and this dude walked up to me, and he's like, hey, look at this, and pulled out some ginger chews that he had in his pocket. He's like, tell PK that the ginger chews are sweeping the nation now. So that's my message to you, PK. Ginger chews. You've got the people going.
Joe, take note, it wasn't a linty mint.
No, it was fully wrapped, not just loose in the pocket. So that's also key.
Are ginger chews okay if they're not fully wrapped?
Well, a ginger chew is way stickier than a mint, so it would really take on some lint. It's much more dangerous in the pocket.
Bad news in there. Bad news.
They're actually sticky. Like they're not sticky once they get wet. Like they're actually sticky even when they come out of the wrapper.
Yeah, ginger is in a chew is it's kind of like a hard gum almost. I've got them in my bag. I'll give you one on Wednesday.
Absolutely,
we'll enjoy them together. Yeah, the thing is, if we chew one during a break, it'll last us into the segment, and then everyone will hear it.
That's true. Probably have to send him to my house though. I won't be there.
There's no telling when we'll see Rexrode again. He's immobile. Yeah, he's just totally immobile.
Are you surgically repaired?
No, but my MRI results, I sure hope come in today. Got the MRI Thursday, 24 to 48 hours. Yeah.
Nice health care they got you at the Athletic.
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm not an elite athlete who gets a surgery like 5 minutes after I hurt myself.
I don't know. The couple times I've gotten an MRI, they turned around the results in a day.
Oh, God.
Well, that's just the kind of elite athlete and human you are, Paul.
There's no doubt about that. So, PK, a win for the Titans yesterday and an emotional Brian Callahan in the press conference after the game. You know, clearly that win meant something to him, and the negativity and everything that's happened this year has been weighing on, I think, everybody in that building. What did you make of the game for the Titans and the reaction for Brian Callahan afterward?
Well, I mean, the win becomes more impressive because they overcome all of the terrible stuff they did over the course of the win. But the win needs to be less impressive because they need to overcome far, far less in a game against a really bad team. I mean, the penalties and Ridley's drops and the fourth down decisions and stuff were really bad. Maybe they wanted to go out and prove Rant right about the ball luck, so they put the ball on the turf several times and recovered it, and the Patriots didn't. So the ball luck thing was right on target.
Nice.
But look, it was a resilient win, and they really took charge in the overtime. I mean, if you want to cap it, that overtime drive with Pollard and Ridley featured, the offensive line really dominant and eating the clock. If Mason Rudolph hadn't fumbled that snap, they probably score a touchdown there and walk off. But also, I mean, even that gave the defense a chance to make a stand there and end it and put a bow on it. And I thought the overtime did a lot to wash away the ills of the game. There's a lot still for them to work on and talk about, and they weren't a good football team in a lot of ways, but they found a way to beat another bad football team. And it was something to go into a locker room full of smiles and happy people, and it's been sad to watch the misery. And so it was nice to see everybody happy for a night.
Well, speaking of ills, Paul, since we last talked to you, had you in last week, where has your confidence level gone with Colt Anderson, special teams coach?
Holy smokes.
I mean, his press conference performance was outrageously bad. If PR's not talking to him, I don't understand why. They need to have a meeting that's longer than the press conference to try to get him through that. Or, he came in and said it was effort. I mean, it can never be effort, right? You might say that behind the scenes. I don't know if you come out and offer it up that it was effort in Detroit. And then I kind of asked him, like, it was the third time that he said that it was unacceptable. And I asked him, well, what happens if a player has unacceptable performance 3 times in 7 games? And he said, well, you look to replace that guy. Well, he said he was unacceptable 3 times. So he's basically saying that they should be looking to replace him, which they're clearly not. And then Callahan yesterday kind of praised special teams. I mean, they gave up 2 big returns that set things up, including one from inside the 5-yard line and one that put the Patriots at the 50-yard line with 1:45 left in regulation that let the Patriots march down and tie the game on the last play. Jaquan Jackson fumbled twice, which is turning into a problem. That's 3 times in 2 games. I mean, for the special teams to be better than Detroit was not hard. If that's the bar they're setting.
It was progress week to week.
Let's have a little parade. But special teams is a mess. And Colt Anderson will answer some more questions about it on Wednesday. And there'll probably be some interesting conversations about the weird things he says explaining it.
So obviously not good on the injury front yesterday for both Diggs and for Cushenberry. And, Cushenberry dealing with the Achilles. So what do you make now of the challenge for the Titans overcoming that loss without their center for the rest of the year?
Well, the first thing I think about, I mean, we know they're going nowhere this year, but an Achilles injury for Cushenberry is at least a year, right?
Yeah.
So we're in November of 2026. So whatever they do to address this offensive line next year now includes a substitute center for half a season, which is a problem. And you would like to think that, he's played better, but he's still not been terrific. But I think he's the kind of guy that is settling into Bill Callahan's stuff. And you'd sure like for him to have had an off season and a training camp and everything and be going into next year, guns blazing, so to speak. And now that's not going to happen. Brunskill will be the center once Radens is healthy again, and you would hope he snaps better than Corey Levin was snapping yesterday. And they're not greatly equipped to replace Diggs. I mean, Mike Brown is probably a replacement level safety. I don't think Julius Wood is going to get in there to play. And so now everybody's going to say, oh, they should have kept Elijah Molden, who isn't a terrific safety either. So a dent on both sides of the ball with losing a veteran guy. It sounded like Diggs is probably going to be out for the season too, though I haven't confirmed that one. But Cushenberry, is gone.
I will push back on that, PK, and maybe it's different with the big guy, but I mean they have this technique that like Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins both had, right? That way accelerated the process, so they were ready to go way earlier. So I mean, I wonder if it's still possible, but yeah, maybe with the big fella, that's still a little bit less of a possibility. But it seems like it's not totally the guarantee of like year plus that it used to be.
That's true. So we leave that in consideration. Hopefully it doesn't affect him, but if it does, it really sucks for early next year.
But for the rest of this year, they're actually decently equipped. Like you said, you could throw Brunskill in there. I mean, Levin is on reserve. You get Radens back, but at safety is rough. I mean, when you look at this team, we've dealt PK today with a lot of fans who are upset, right? And people have already kind of tuned into like, let's get the highest pick possible mode. I mean, it's still, for me, I look at this schedule. There were some things that got better yesterday, but I mean, how many more wins can you find in this schedule right now?
Well, we got 2 against the Jags. I think the Colts are beatable on any given Sunday because they're very much a wild card. And who am I forgetting? I'm getting a schedule in front of me here. I mean,
there's not much else I can find.
They could win one by accident. Cincinnati's a bit of a wild card, but they're hot now. I wouldn't pick it. Yeah. But look, I mean, if you couldn't sit back as a fan of the team, independent, like on a random Sunday, and enjoy them enjoying a win, I think there's something wrong with that. I just, I've said this over and over and over. If you're sitting down on November 3rd and thinking about April 28th or whatever, I just think there's something wrong with you. If you can't see Jeffrey Simmons, who's been so sour all season, smiling in front of the camera, and if you don't think there's something healthy for the young guys on this team to experience that, I think you're too disconnected from a locker room and from a team and from what things mean. And I think you're putting too much into April and not enough into November.
PK, great stuff as always, man. Looking forward to seeing you in here on Wednesday, and we'll talk to you then.
Continue your excellent work, boys.
Thank you.
And Joseph, I hope your pain decreases and you get your results, but you got to be in the studio at some point. I mean, roll in there.
Power
Is
through.
it not handicapped accessible?
Dude, yeah, but I need an elevator. The only thing that's really killing me is stairs, and as you know, that studio that's some stairs.
So I think Kuharski might just have to carry you up the stairs. On
If
on
you
Wednesday.
will,
I will say before
then
they
I'll show
build
up.
an elevator, they need to hire me. Their priorities
There you
have
go.
to be kept in order.
There you go.
So screw the elevator.
We'll see if we can make something
Fair
happen.
point.
PK, we'll see you Wednesday.
Later, boys.
Paul Kuharski from paulkuharski.com. Our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. The Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up next. Cory Curtis will be with us at 8 o'clock. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robby and Rexrode.
This is so frustrating.
This is a paper bag kind of season for the Titans.
It's kind of ugly, though.
It is that time of the day, time for the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode. You can check it out every morning here on the program. Joseph, happy ranting to you. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Let me start with a question for you, Robby.
Okay.
Because I'm going to talk about Nick Westbrook-Aine right now in this segment.
Oh, yes.
And I want to ask you, because every time he does anything, people tweet at me, right? Why is that?
Why do they tweet at you?
Yeah.
Because he's your boy. And your article, however long that was ago now, is that 3 years ago? 4 years ago? When was that?
It was early 21. I'm definitely going to get to that. What did the article say?
It said basically the Titans believe that he could be a nice replacement for Corey Davis, if memory serves me correctly.
Yeah, so that's you're in the ballpark. It's funny how this is, and I mean it's all fun. I mean we had him on, and he got a restraining order. I mean, I was like, Nick, you're the best. Well, you talk to us some more, Nick. You know, I mean we've had a lot of fun with this, right?
I wonder if he'll come back on now.
I don't know. Well, he's too big time now.
He is.
So Austin Stanley tweet, he made me like the little pin, like the parent pin, right? And so he tweeted out that picture from camp. Like during that camp of 21, every time I made a play, everybody would look at me and I'd like dance on the side. Like we've had a lot of fun with it, right?
I know what people said that you said, but you didn't say.
Well, right. So PK, we're going to get to PK. I should have made him stay on the line for this. But it's funny, like yesterday, I'm looking at like some of the tweets. For example, Gover tweets, Terry McCormick tweeted about, it's not a stretch to say he's the Titans' best receiver, right? And Gover quote tweets that said, if only they'd listened to @Joe Rexrode sooner. And then Easton Free says, somewhere @Joe Rexrode is watching NWR1I, which is pretty funny, with a smile. Never wrong, just early. And I think that people have turned this into, like years ago, I said, he is going to be amazing. You watch, everybody. Well, I'm going to go. I just want to remind people of this, okay? Because it's like the way the legends kind of, it's like Paul Bunyaning things. This is March 23rd of 2021. I was talking to a source in the Titans organization about something totally different. And we got into this. And this is, it's a good source. It was someone who's very high up in the Titans, because I'm not going to base this on, like a not good source, right? But I was kind of surprised, like, whoa, really? Basically, the source saying, we're not all that worried about Corey Davis, who had just signed 3 years, 37, didn't think that Corey Davis was great, thought Corey Davis was a beneficiary of Derrick Henry and AJ Brown, basically, right? And I mean, I think now we can look back and say, yeah, that was probably a pretty good take, right?
Yeah.
So, and then they didn't get into the top guys. So this is what was actually written. Quote, yes, Westbrook-Aine is part of why the Titans have not viewed the receiver room with the same level of concern as outsider observers inside the building. The same observers saw Westbrook-Aine, a 6'2", 211-pound undrafted rookie out of Indiana in 2020, appear to harm his chances of making the team with slippery hands during camp, but he showed enough otherwise to stick much on special teams. Ended up active for 14 games, 3 passes for 33 yards. This is not exactly the stuff of legends, but the Titans like Westbrook-Aine's upside, end quote. And then again, going into that's honestly it. They didn't go after someone big. They do think that he can be a part of the team. I just reported that, and people went nuts about it. And PK told me I needed to apologize to the fan base about that. Like someone told it to me, and I reported it. And of course, that person ended up being pretty on point. I mean, I think, frankly, Westbrook-Aine now is way better now than they thought back then, but they saw it. And any of us who saw him do nothing and then saw him not catch the ball in camp, we're like, what are you talking about? But this has turned into like this, oh, yeah, you said he was amazing, or you said he was going to be wide receiver too. Never wrote it. I mean, not at all. Just wrote that they like him and that they think he's part of their future plans. That's it. It's amazing how these things can take on a life of their own.
What are you doing? Lean into it. You were right the whole time. He's wide receiver too. Just do it.
But no, I want the truth. I want the truth is I didn't think anything. As soon as that person told me, I'm like, what are you talking about? That dude? NWI. I mean, we didn't even call him NWI. He didn't even get the nickname NWI until like then the next camp. I think someone was like, ooh, let's call him NWI.
Yeah.
It was just like, this dude from Indiana, which sucks at football, will never be good at football. An Indiana football player? No.
Yeah, both those things aging well.
Yeah, exactly. I deserve no credit whatsoever, but I also didn't deserve the crap I got from PK, and I'm still waiting for PK to apologize to me. That's really what this is about. You still owe me an apology, PK, because you mischaracterized that, and then, of course, you were wrong.
I will say, though, well said on your part on all those things. The Nick Westbrook-Aine moment on our show where you tried to explain this to him, and he was just totally silent is still one of the greatest moments in the history of this program.
Do we have that? I know.
We got to find it somewhere.
I should have asked.
We'll have to dig through the files, but man, it was beautiful.
I think he was like, okay. Something like that. Yeah, we need to find that today. Let's do that.
And I don't know if he's talked to you since then.
Yeah, no, there's been some conversations sort of just real quick. I've gotten in there a little bit. It's fine, but good for him. He is, like, honestly, I think even like this year he's gotten better. I could be wrong, but it seems to me like he gets better every year, which you're allowed to do, by the way, when you're a professional athlete. Like, you're actually allowed even into your 20s and 30s to get better each year as a pro athlete. And I think he's a great example of, it's why Vrabel loved him so much, right? I mean, he talked about every chance he got about how prepared he was and all those things that you try to do everything you can control in terms of knowing the offense, knowing all the positions. But beyond that, I just think he's got a little bit bigger, faster, stronger, and he's good, man. They should have been throwing him the ball all year.
Throwing the ball more. The fact that they ever tried to throw the ball to Traylon Burks before they threw it to NWI is disrespectful.
I don't think that mistake's going to be made anymore.
I don't think so either. I think we've probably seen the last of that. A lot of love for NWI on the text line. Chip says NWI has been consistent, shows up to play. You were 100% on him, Joe. That's right. You were 100% right. Keep them coming.
I was 100% right in hearing something saying, holy crap, and writing it. Thank you.
I think you're distancing yourself too much for this. Just take your victory lap. Just do it.
I want accuracy. We are the show of accuracy. Some shows tell it like it isn't and make up conspiracy theories. We try to be accurate.
Yeah, no doubt about it. 615-737-1025. Our phone number. Cory Curtis from News 2 will be with us next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, The Game. Final hour, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Monday morning. Titans win 20-17 against the New England Patriots yesterday to get to 2-6. And help us talk more about that, we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And welcome in our friend Cory Curtis from News 2. Cory, good morning. How are you?
I am delightful today. How are you guys?
We're also delightful. We appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning.
You do.
A nice change of pace, Cory, to be talking about a Titans win on a Monday rather than a loss. Don't you agree?
It is, only made better by the fact that the Packers lost at home this weekend.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you bringing that up. That was good.
Yep, that's no problem. Bears lost to Baby Grogu horribly.
Yeah, there's that too. Not very good stuff from the Green Bay Packers yesterday, but very good stuff for the Titans in overtime. They get the win.
Yep.
They drive down the field, kick the field goal. Amani Hooker gets the game-sealing interception. And, Cory, we saw an emotional Brian Callahan after the game. What did you make of that, his reaction, and what did that kind of signal to you about what it's been like for those coaches so far this season?
Well, look, we said when he got the job, he seemed like a guy who's been training for this moment his whole life, to be a head coach of the National Football League. And I'm sure, no matter how much you believe in yourself and what you're doing and what you're teaching and what your mantras are, you have a crisis of self when you don't have success. And I'm sure he was having some crisis of self, and he needed to win. And, I don't mind him saying that. The NFL is very fickle because we all know the difference between winning and losing and being good and bad are all, always very, very slim margins. Because you can find a way to win, you can certainly find a way to lose. And, I think there's a lot of guys finding that out and just how difficult it is and how much it means. We all talk about the money and, how much money they make. And it's true. It's absolutely true. But in the end, they're boys playing a game to win.
No, I'm with you. Look, it was a human moment. And I think it's just, to me, it was a good example, Cory, because PK just scolded the fans who would root against their team. I don't go there. I get it. If your team is clearly not going to be competitive in a given year, the draft is important. And so a high pick is something that I understand the idea of wanting to get the highest possible pick when your team's not going to go anywhere and this team's not going anywhere. But at the same time, my whole thing is you have to understand fans that these guys are not tanking. They don't give a crap what you think about the number one pick. It doesn't mean anything to them. It means nothing to these people. And it's very, very hard.
It's a better chance for someone to take their job.
Yes,
exactly. Exactly. And look, Brian Callahan, I have no idea. To me, it's close to unfathomable that he would be fired after this year, but it does happen in the league. And we know that this team's ownership, fickle is not the word. So I just thought it was a human moment. Beyond that, Cory, did you see anything yesterday that leads you to believe there's anything significant changing for the positive moving forward for this team?
Sure. They gave up one sack, right? And I think there were a number of times where you saw a good clean pocket, to throw from. They had over 400 yards, I think, for the second game in a row. I think I said it last night on our show. Tony Pollard is unquestionably the heartbeat of this team at this point. And as you talk about in identity, I think it's more and more revolving around number 20. I think you had more guys make plays in this game. Where we've had kind of one guy to hang on in a game. Oh, hey, well, Ridley did some things. Ridley made plays. He had drops. We saw those. But ultimately, in the end, he made some plays that helped this team win the game. Pollard made plays to help this team win the game. Amani Hooker made plays to help this team, win the game. Nick Westbrook-Aine made plays to help this team win the game. We had more guys. We saw more guys make plays to win the game. And, you had guys come off the bench who didn't cost you the game. Corey Levin didn't cost you the game. Mike Brown ultimately did not cost you the game. And so there's that.
What about the special teams part of this? There's the press conference last week with Colt Anderson, which was just an unmitigated disaster. Yep. Yesterday, you had the illegal formation. You had the 2 returns that you gave up. And while it was progress from the Detroit game, still special teams is just an absolute mess for this team right now.
Well, I asked Kelly after the game, why can't you just punt it out of bounds?
I don't get it.
I mean, because my point was, and he seemed to think that the coverage was better. And I think he saw something that we did not. I mean, you
better than like the worst game ever, I guess.
I mean, you gave up a 25-yard punt return with the game on the line.
Yeah,
against a bad offense. Like the only thing that could hurt you really in that situation is like a bad special teams play, a blocked punt or a big return. Play it safe. Punt it out of bounds. I think they netted 33 yards or something on that punt, because I think it was like a 58-yard punt and a 25-yard return or something. I think that Stonehouse could manage to angle it out for 33 yards or more and not risk the guy housing it. I mean, whether it's personnel, whether it's performance, whether it's a mix of both, they don't have the system in place to cover punts. They don't punt it out of bounds. That's, and I like Callie and I like him as a person and as a coach, and I want him to win, but I will disagree with him respectfully on that. He needs to punt the ball out of bounds because they can't trust it. You cannot trust it to this point. It's proven. And then, first highlight I see from the Chargers is this 55-yard punt return yesterday. Yeah. And I go, oh God, here we go.
Yeah. Well, so on the human side there, Corey, with Callahan, as it relates to quarterback, again, people should understand, like, these guys work their butts off. They're out there getting smashed into to try to win a game. They won a game. And I don't think Rudolph was great, but he was pretty good. He was solid.
I think he's what we thought he would be, right?
Yeah, exactly. Do you look at that as any sort of consideration for this coaching staff? No, not at all. That's it. Levis is back in.
Well, because he's not the future. And you need to find out if Levis can be the future or not. Because, I mean, right now that answer looks like no, right? I mean, from what we saw to start the season, it hasn't been great. But you still got half a season to go, okay? And you can find things out in that half a season. Look, if they bench Levis the rest of the way and go with Rudolph, do you still think they're going to go next year and say, we're going to go with Mason Rudolph as our guy, we're going to give him an extension, and he's going to be our guy moving forward? Do you see that scenario happening at all?
No.
Nope.
Okay, so what's the point? What's the point? Unless you've pulled the plug on Levis and say, we don't need to evaluate anymore. This is a disaster. We're just going to try to win as many games as we can, and we think this is the path to do it. That's the only way. But if you still actually want to find out if Levis can improve in this scenario with some experience, because it is only year 2, and I know people will push back on that, and that's fine, but it's a fact. I mean, go back and look and see what Mason Rudolph was in year 2, because it was not what it is today. All right. Mason Rudolph has improved over time. But so, yeah, you still have half a season to see if he can take step forwards or not to where you believe in him. I mean, look, there'd have to be some pretty significant steps. I understand all that, but that's the point. You need to see, you need to know, you need to make informed decisions. And that's the only way they're going to be able to do it.
Corey, the NFL trading deadline tomorrow at 3 o'clock Central Time here. Titans have already made some moves. Do you think more moves could be coming? And kind of related to that, Corey, Arden Key looked awfully good the last 2 weeks here. What do you make of that?
Yeah, he did. He's definitely given himself some value where, like, 3 weeks ago, I would have said you're not going to really get anything for him. Because he had 0 sacks before last week, right?
I believe that is correct.
Yeah. And, he's not just gotten to the quarterback, but he's gotten the ball out, which is the big thing. I mean, he's gotten the ball out in back-to-back weeks. They had 3 turnovers yesterday, guys. They had 3 turnovers all season. And 2 of them that they didn't even create. They're just guys dropping the football. So that was a huge step forward yesterday that I didn't bring up. Defensively, they got the ball out. That was huge. But yeah, Key, guys who can hit the quarterback have value in this league. How much value Arden Key has, I do not know. And then that goes to the whole question of what's it worth to you to trade him away? I mean, like if Arizona calls and says, hey, we'll give you a 7th, a conditional 6th if he gets us 4 sacks the rest of the way. Is that worth it to you to have to start Jalen Harrell the rest of the way and know you've got to find a new starter in the offseason? I mean, that's the questions that I've got, because you've always got to have somebody to replace somebody. And are you prepared to play the rest of the way without 49 on the edge? Because he's a guy with value. Obviously Landry's got value, but again, do you want to give him away? I mean, because again, you don't have another Harold Landry. I know he's an imperfect player, but he plays a ton of snaps. He does get to the quarterback. He's extremely reliable. But I don't think I'm prepared to give Harold Landry away for a 5th round draft pick.
Oh God, no. Landry. If a team is taking on that deal, that's the problem is the deal, right? But you would have to get a significant pick for him. I don't know. But I'm just saying that I'm not even thinking about he has to be part of the future. But on your point on Arden Key, I think they were going to replace him next year anyway. Like granted, we don't know what's going to happen with quarterback, but if quarterback is not their choice, don't you think edge probably is? I suppose you can draft another offensive tackle. There's plenty of need. There are plenty of needs, but they have to replace Key. Yeah, I know.
Tackle, edge, wide receiver, corner are only spots you can look at in round 1. That certainly does not change. And even if Key is back next year, they need to be looking to bring in another quality player at that position.
Agreed.
To at least improve the rotation, because right now they don't have much of a rotation at that spot. And so, yeah. And I guess that's kind of my point. If you get rid of him, you don't have a rotation because you only got one at that point. So, they may look to get rid of him. That's their prerogative. But then to me, they need 2.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Cory, great stuff as always, my friend. Thank you for taking time to be with us this morning. And we'll talk to you next week. Maybe the Titans can win back-to-back here, going out to a place where they've struggled to win, although most of that's been in San Diego and not LA. So we'll see what they do against the Chargers.
Yeah, and I fear that, the insanity that is Jim Harbaugh does just win games virtually everywhere he goes.
He does.
And that team appears to be just getting better. I mean, they whacked the Browns yesterday. And Herbert's getting better under him. They can run the football. I mean, that's the thing we haven't talked about is how banged up the Titans are, and the Chargers are another physical team. This could be a tough matchup from that perspective. That they're a physical team and the Titans are coming in banged up. And by the way, and I know you have to go, I apologize. No one has brought up that the Titans broke the Lions curse.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just going to say that they're the first team to win after playing the Lions all year. Good job.
Now they might be the first team to play the Patriots after playing the Lions.
Yeah.
But by the way, I did not cry myself to sleep for Patriot fans that their team is utterly horrible. Their best play was Drake May running for his life.
Yes.
That was their best play.
Yeah.
No. Other than that, they had no real offense.
They're owed a few years
of misery.
Yeah, they're owed a few years of just being absolute cheeks. There's no doubt about
that. They're getting cheeks. Nice.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Cory, we'll talk to you next week.
Sir.
Thank you.
All right, go Lions.
Yeah. Cory Curtis from News 2, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode, joins us every Monday morning at 8 o'clock. We'll get back into the Titans and the Patriots coming up next. A lot of your thoughts to get to. We'll get into Brian Callahan's emotional reaction, and we found something for Joe Rexrode that's just beautiful that we'll also get to coming up next as well. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Monday morning. We're taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Titans win 20-17 against the Patriots yesterday. We are going to get well back into that throughout the show. But we have found the interaction between Joe Rexrode and this Nick Westbrook-Aine from October of 2021 here on the show. The last time that we heard from NWI on this program, and we'll play just a snippet of it for you. And it's just as beautiful as I remember it being at the time. Here was the conversation between Rexrode and NWI back in October of 2021.
Well, actually, you know what? Maybe send this to her. I must admit, like, I don't bring it to games, but yeah. But so the Tighten Up podcast, you're conscious of that then, because you are the kind of guy who, the undrafted, you struggle a little bit in that first camp. You talked about, right? I mean, some drops and things like that, and you hung in there, made the team. Now you're established here. I guess, the cult hero type thing, you're the type of guy that people root for, right? You're conscious of that.
Yeah, I guess so. I can see that.
Well, that was awkward. I'm sorry, Nick.
No, you're good. I don't want to. I'm not trying to take any attention away from the team. I just do my job out there and just hope that it's good enough.
Oh God, that was Joe Rexrode, October 2021. Well, that was awkward.
That's not. But that wasn't. So that wasn't actually the part that I was talking about. I don't even remember that part. Geez, it was even more awkward overall than I remember.
Oh, yeah, I remember that
remember,
part.
Robbie, there was a part, though, where I explained to him the situation.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think there was. Maybe maybe tomorrow in the 6 o'clock hour, we can just run that interview on a loop for like an hour straight, I think. Yeah, there was another part where I'm like, yeah, so anyway, Nick, and I explained the whole thing. And he's like, okay.
I would love to know what he said to Titans PR after he got done with that interview. He's like, this Robby and Rexrode, don't ever let me go back on that radio program again.
And the thing is, I mean, we've been requesting him every single week since then. And,
Nothing.
It's just one of these weeks.
He and Vrabel.
He's going to say yes. We've actually offered him like the job replacing me. And he's still, but at least whenever he hangs it up after like 6 Pro Bowls to come, then he's got that spot whenever he wants it.
Oh, man.
Wow.
That was every bit as beautiful as I remember it being at the time.
What a glorious interview.
Yeah. Put that one in the Hall of Fame. Let's go back to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Adam in Portland. Adam, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
I was really hoping you'd say something else with his name. I don't want to follow him, man. He's so freaking awesome. Like, everything he does in life is good. You throw him 5 balls, he's going to catch 5. That's the I remember that interview, Joe. That's the answer I would have given. I would have just sat there and made it weird too, man. He's just cool, man. Not why I called. I do love NWI, man, and he's like a very, very minor part of the season. But for the Titans fans out there that are like, we should have blown that team out, we were very depleted. We were a 1-win football team heading into yesterday, and there's a reason for it. Like, this stuff just doesn't happen. Like, they're a couple of plays away and probably thought they should beat us too. I guarantee it. Our special teams, though, man, I got to talk about them. Everybody's going to beat them up. I've never seen anything that bad, and I've never seen a team have to talk about their special teams that much. And to say that, our kicker hasn't missed a kick this year, which is incredible. Like, this isn't just regular, oh, you can't kick. This is like, you don't do anything right on special teams, and that's where I have a problem with Callie. Like that's where I'm like, dude, you got to get out of your own way on this. Like, somebody else needs to interject and go, hey, we got to fix this. This is disgusting. Like, it's costing us games. It's going to keep costing us games. Like, it's going to be a problem for the rest of the year. So I say you got to do something, man. All the players are looking at you. You got to do something.
Yep. Thanks for the call, Adam. I mean, can you imagine, Joe? Because Corey's right. I mean, they gave up the punt return to get to the 50-yard line on the drive where New England goes down there and scores. Can you imagine what we're talking about today had the Titans lost that game in overtime as it relates to special teams?
Yeah, we're talking about that. And that's, I still feel bad earlier in the show. I forgot about that. But yeah, obviously that's like the one time you have to cover a kick and you don't do it. And here's the thing. This is where, like, I will make a prediction because I'm still of my same mindset that I think this entire crew is coming back at the top in terms of, GM, head coach, and Brinker's title, president, whatever.
Yeah.
I think that crew is all coming back, but there will be firings. There will be changes on the staff. And Colt Anderson, to me, it's like, I think it's almost
It's
inevitable.
a foregone conclusion. Yeah.
Yeah. But again, in season firings, like, what are you doing? You are taking away someone who, granted, not doing good work, but still doing a lot of work. And so that person, then you're going to elevate that person's assistant. So, what's that going to do for it? Yeah, they finally did it with Ackerman last year, but to me, the in-season assistant coach firing to me never made sense unless it's like just toxic, right? Like there's like people hate him in the building, or like he's just completely whatever, not showing up to work. Yeah. Other than that, like you do it at the end of the year. And obviously this guy does not have a handle on putting together a quality special teams unit. There's no way at this point that you could conclude otherwise.
No, it's a total train wreck. And again, yesterday was better than Detroit. Put up almost any game in NFL history, and it'll be better than
Right.
Detroit. So that should not be the bar of what we're talking about. You had an illegal formation on the first kickoff of the game. It's what are we doing here? It just kind of is what it is at that point. So I agree with you. Like I think Anderson is going to be a foregone conclusion to be out of here at the end of the year.
And he won't be the only one.
No, I still wonder, Nick Holtz, could he be on the table? There's a lot of things that could happen there. And again, we've gone through the schedule. Like yesterday's win doesn't change a lot of the same questions that we're asking. Now, I think it's good for the players to change up what has got to be just the monotony of losing games and getting your head beat in every week. And certainly for Brian Callahan, you saw it. He was emotional after the game. It's a big win for Callahan. And I think it's one of those things where it's like, all right, you get a chance to breathe here for a little bit. But ultimately, I don't think the big picture with the questions this team is facing as a franchise moving forward, I don't know that really any of that changed yesterday with the win.
No, it really didn't. It really comes down to a lot of the same issues and the same questions. And again, I still think that this season is going to, at some point this season, we're going to get back to, okay, Will Levis, can you make any progress? Here's some more opportunity. And some people may not like that idea, but to me, that's got to be that's got to be in the top of mind still, and then you want to try to clean up some things. You want to try to figure out a way to like score some more points after halftime. They did do that some yesterday.
They did. You
want to at some point look like a professional football team on special teams, which I don't know that that's going to happen. Look, they're going to have challenges too. And when it comes down to it, Cushenberry out and really both of them, if Quandre Diggs is, and it didn't sound good from what Callahan said yesterday, if he's, they're very thin at safety. Like they're a beat up, limited team that probably is going to trade another player before tomorrow. Although, on that front, Robbie, I will say, like, I'm with Cory. Like, if you're getting just like a 6th or 7th, I'd rather have Arden Key as a depth guy, and this year as a starter, but like even as a possible depth guy, than that. Like if you're getting 4th round or better, even a 5th, that's something you talk about. But 6th and 7th, at some point, you could combine a bunch of them to try to move up, but it's not going to do much for you.
Tune in to 94.9 The Fan tonight for Vanderbilt men's basketball. Commodores taking on Maryland Eastern Shore at Memorial Gym. Tip off at 7 o'clock. Pregame at 6:30. Coverage also available on the 94.9 The Fan app and at 949thefan.com. You can look forward to Joe Rexrode's scouting reports on Oglethorpe, who MTSU plays, and Maryland Eastern Shore a little bit later in the program.
Oglethorpe from Georgia, by the way.
They are from the state of Georgia. Thank you very much to the text line. We'll have more coming up with the Titans next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. This week's Nashville's best deal is from Black Rabbit. Black Rabbit, a great spot to enjoy some Nashville vibes with craft cocktails, delicious food, and live music. Just steps from iconic venues. It's perfect for a night out. Snagging a $50 gift card for only $25, a fantastic way to experience it. So get yours now at thegamenashville.com/deals while supplies last. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode. Well, Preds picked the click. Coming up here in about 10 minutes. Preds in action tonight, taking on the LA Kings. Nice win for the Preds over the weekend, by the way, against the Colorado Avalanche. We'll get a little bit more into that coming up here in just a few minutes. Titans win 20-17 against the Patriots yesterday. They moved to 2-6. Now, Joe, we've talked about this. I would describe the reaction that we've gotten on the text line today as borderline angry as the Titans getting the win yesterday. Now, it's not everybody. We've had some people that were excited to see the Titans win yesterday, but the Titans do, according to tankathon.com. I believe they were at the number 2 overall pick heading into the game yesterday. And with the win, they now join what is a very crowded list of teams in the National Football League that have 2 wins. The Patriots, Jacksonville, New Orleans, who's lost 7 in a row, by the way, Carolina, Cleveland, Las Vegas, the New York Giants, and the Miami Dolphins, along with the Tennessee Titans. They have all won 2 games so far this year. A lot of those teams at 2-7. Titans and Dolphins are now at 2-6. So Titans go from the number 2 pick to now currently number 9, Joe Rexrode, according to tankathon.com. And that has some Titans fans very upset on the text line.
Yeah. Well, and I look at those teams, and the Patriots are going to continue to be bad. Browns will continue to be, but Browns are probably going to trade Zadarius Smith to the Lions today.
Yep.
The Jags almost beat the Eagles yesterday. So they're weird, but obviously they're down bad. The Raiders are terrible. The Giants are pretty freaking bad. I don't understand what happened. Remember the Saints after 2 weeks? We got some Saints fans listening to the program.
They looked
unbelievable. My goodness, were they excited. And it's just, the fact that they lost the Panthers, which screwed me over big time in Pigskin Pick'em. Wow, what a terrible weekend on that front. The Panthers are terrible. By the way, just quick aside on that, I watched a decent amount of that game. Bryce Young actually looks pretty good to me.
Somebody hurting you? Why did you watch that game?
Well, you get YouTube TV, man. You get that 4 screens.
That's true.
You wrote. I had 2 different 4-screen combos, so that's. Believe me, it was. It wasn't a ton, but he looked pretty good. So I don't know. All those teams that we mentioned, other than, I think the Giants probably have a few wins in them, and the Jags I still think probably do. The other ones have a real shot here to continue losing a lot. But we know the Titans' schedule is also. It's not very favorable, or it is favorable if you want them to lose. Like, obviously, Minnesota's way better than we thought they'd be this year. Washington's way, way better than we thought they'd be this year. Those are 2 games I had penciled in as wins going the season that right now should be L's for them. If that's what you're rooting for, Titans fans.
Well, there is that. And look, there's also this too. Like, I understand, and we've heard both sides of it today. If you're a fan out there that's given up on this season and you believe the quickest route to the Titans getting back into contention is a high draft pick, which presumably would go to a quarterback at that point, okay, that's fine. Like, I don't really fault you for feeling that way. That's fine. If you're a Titans fan that really enjoyed watching your football team on an NFL Sunday, of which you only get 17 per year, win a game yesterday, that's good too. Like, I don't really fault fans for feeling that way. One thing I will say is, like, sometimes having the number 1 pick, it's a little bit overrated. Like, is there a huge difference for the Titans if they got the number 3 pick instead of the number 1 pick? And you brought, like, right now, the Patriots have the number 1 pick. Like, are the Patriots taking a quarterback next year after they just took Drake May? I would be surprised by that. So there's still so much time left and so many different options in terms of the order in which it could play out. Like, I don't know. I'd freak out yet if you're a Titans fan rooting for the number 1 overall pick. There's still plenty of opportunity there.
Yeah. Now, obviously, the last time that they turned this franchise around, they had it and they traded it, right? Yep. And so it turned into a lot of good football players for them. So that's why what you need then is you need the quarterback desperate team. And of those teams that we mentioned, there's several of them that could be. Yep. The Saints. The Giants, maybe. Are the Giants finally going to, the Raiders for sure. Well, the
And who knows
Browns.
about the Panthers?
The Brown. Yeah, right.
Browns
So,
got a guy
you
on
know,
contract.
well, that's it. That is true. They need a rookie who will actually play, who's cheap. But you know, then you have to have the QB at the top of the draft. Like back then, it was Goff. You know, it was like, oh my God, Jared Goff, and who, by the way, is pretty good. I must say, here 8 years. There's a guy who's been good, Super Bowl, bad, discarded, forgotten, and now he's really good again. But you have to have some at the top of the draft also that a team wants to trade up to get. It probably will happen because every year, unless it's an atrocious QB class like a couple years ago, like someone gets built up to where people will be like, oh my God, Shador or Cam Ward, or I think we can probably get rid of the Carson Beck stuff
yeah,
right
he
now.
doesn't look
My
very good.
goodness. But anyway, yeah, I mean, it's better to be as high as possible, but like to me, like 3 or 5 or 7, doesn't necessarily make that much difference.
I watched a lot of Cam Ward this weekend, Joe, because it just happened to be on as I was at Bridgestone doing some work. I'm starting to root for Cam Ward just because I think it would be wildly fun. It may not end up well, but it would be wildly fun.
You talk about someone who, we made the Levis comparison at times with like Favre, right? Like gunslinger, just like, what are you doing? Cam Ward is like, there's some Brett Favre, like throws that are incredible and just arm slots and holy crap, that was a throw. And then what are you doing? Yeah, no, he is going to be an absolute roller coaster of fun wherever he goes.
No doubt about it. 615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. Preds Pick to Click coming up next. Be the first caller at 615-737-1025. If you guess a goal scorer for the Preds tonight, you win a pair of tickets to a future Nashville Predators home game. We'll do that next. Our final thoughts on the Titans' 20-17 win against the Patriots coming up as well. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, the game.
It's time for Preds Picks to click.
And a shot at the score.
Do you think you know who will score a goal in tonight's Predators game?
Little give and go.
Shoot your shot for a chance to win Preds tickets. Call 615-737-1025 now. It's Pick to Click, now on Robby and Rexrode.
Preds Pick to Click here on Robby and Rexrode. Preds back in action tonight, taking on the Los Angeles Kings. Puck drop at 7 o'clock, pregame at 6 o'clock. They're on 102.5, 106.3 the game. A standings update in the competition. The listeners have gotten themselves on the board after the Philip Forsberg pick last time out. So, Joe Rexrode remains in first place with 3 correct answers. The listeners, Nick Keyser and myself, all tied with 1 correct answer for second place. So, Rexrode leading the charge in the competition. With that in mind, let's go back to our 102.5 the game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Kenny. Kenny, good morning. Thanks for calling in. Who is your pick to click tonight for the Nashville Predators?
I got a good feeling about Forsberg.
Going with Philip Forsberg. Kenny, thanks for the call. Forsberg playing pretty well right now. Another goal the other night, empty netter. Scored some big goals for them over that stretch here recently. Forsberg off the board. Nick Keyser, your pick to click for the Nashville Predators.
I hope this guy gets off the schneid tonight. I mean, he's not done too much lately, guys, but give me Luke Evangelista.
Going with Luke Evangelista. Joe, I am up next. This guy broke through with a power play goal last time out. It was a howitzer off the goalie, and I think you might start to see him go in bunches for him. Give me Steven Stamkos. Forsberg, Evangelista, Stamkos off the board. Joe Rexrode, your pick to click.
Well, that was very nice of Nick to do that for you, because I agree with you.
Thank you.
Well, I could go out on a limb since I'm winning, but I need a little more distance. I'm gonna, you know what? He scored his first goal. I'm gonna go with him again. How about Roman Josi?
He did. Speaking of howitzer, it's like 102 miles an hour from the slot the other night. Good shot by him. Forsberg, Evangelista, Stamkos, Josi. The selections in Preds pick to click. Preds in action tonight. By the way, nice win for them against Colorado. Parsonen playing with Stamkos and Marchessault, so some lineup shuffling the other night. Michael McCarron comes out. By the way, the numbers on the fourth line without Michael McCarron, pretty darn good for the Preds on Saturday. So we'll see what that looks like. I would anticipate it's probably the same lineup tonight, but we'll see what happens on that front. But another big game for the Predators at home, needing a win against the LA Kings tonight. Joe, final thoughts on the Titans' 20-17 win in overtime yesterday against the Patriots. I don't know how many more of these are coming this year. They do get the win. They improved to 2-6. Rudolph 20 of 33 for 240 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. I thought Tony Pollard was really good yesterday. 28 carries for $128. Ridley with another game where he made some big plays, although he did have another drop yesterday that he's got to come down with. But some big plays by Ridley. NWI, your boy, 5 catches, 50 yards, and a touchdown in the game. Overall, your thoughts on the Titans win and what this now signifies and means for Brian Callahan and the coaching staff specifically moving forward.
Yeah, they needed it badly. They needed it badly. Brian Callahan needed it. Again, it's not just the coaches. It's also these players who this game is violent. It's collisions. It's injuries. It's, to quote Vrabel, 100% injury rate. And losing sucks. I mean, for anybody who's remotely a competitor, losing sucks. It's awful. If you're good enough, if you're playing at the highest level of professional sports, for the most part, 95+% of those people are extremely high level competitors, not just athletes. So they needed it. And I think PK was a little preachy and a little bit scolding earlier, talking about fans rooting against the team, because I get it that, you want your team to have a high pick and you don't see a future in the playoffs for this team. And you're right, this team will not be in the playoffs, but you should understand that they're not tanking and that this was big for them. It wasn't very big for Colt Anderson. It still was just another bad week for him after an atrocious week and a bad press conference. But for the overall group, it was much, much needed.
Oh, we all know tomorrow's a huge day in our country. And I'm, of course, referring to the NFL trading deadline that will take place at 3 p.m. Central Time tomorrow. I am interested to see, is there anybody else this week that could be on the move for the Titans? They've started to do it. Ernest Jones gone. Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins gone. there's not a ton of time left here. But if you're the Lions, who looked great again yesterday, if you're a contender right now in the NFL, you got 2 days here to make a move. So I'm interested to see if there are any more Titans that are going to be involved with that. Key is an interesting name. I guess you could still throw Harold Landry in there at this point too. I'd be surprised if they traded a Landry or a Simmons at this point, but you never know. You can't rule anything out. Interested to see if there are any more moves coming for the Titans between now and 3:00 Central Time tomorrow.
Yeah, Key seems like the most likely. I thought Quandre Diggs was maybe a guy, someone could have an interest in out there that you could get maybe something for. Yeah, I'm not ruling out, something like a Landry or something like that. But again, that's going to me, require, Cory Curtis earlier talking about a fifth. No way, man.
No.
I know that I was out on a limb with this idea of the Lions being so desperate and having no other options that they throw a first. But I think he should get a second. I would not even. I don't know that I'm moving him for a third.
Yeah.
Are you?
No. I think second would be, because if not, he's still a viable part of your solution moving forward here.
Yeah, and like Cory said, you have to have players, and you have to have some good players, and it's okay to pay some people, even though there is a salary cap that's a real. Tomorrow, real salary cap. Tomorrow, Robby, is also huge for other reasons. It is the first college football playoff rankings revealed tomorrow night too.
It is.
So maybe we can delve in on that a little bit.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what that looks like. I look forward to your breakdown tomorrow of Baylor and Gonzaga, which tips off at like 11:45 tonight. So looking forward to all that coming. Tomorrow's a big day. A lot of sports going on right now.
And tomorrow night, if you're watching the rankings reveal, and then after that, you're like, what else should I watch that might be on television right now? I have your answer. Maction, Bowling Green at Central Michigan tomorrow night. All sports, so that's all you should watch tomorrow. That's my advice.
I agree. By the way, shout out to MTSU. The MTSU game was on this weekend, Joe. And the all-white getup that they have with the white jersey, white pants, and those like matte white helmets that they wear, beautiful. Love them. MTSU is looking good down in UTEP this weekend.
Yeah, that looked good. You know what didn't look good?
Here we go.
Stupid dark mode uniforms, and then like the Kentucky was like it was like an arena game I was watching. It was like they were like a bad Lions uniform
You're
ripoff.
ancient, just ancient. Dark mode uniforms are good. They're good.
Their jerseys, the orange and the white. That's why it's the orange and white. Those are awesome.
Wear
those. Wear those.
I think they are moving forward. I don't think you're going to see any more of the old ones. We'll see how it goes. That does it for us today. Hope everybody has a marvelous rest of their day. Chasing Big Joe coming up next. You're listening to 102.5, 106.3 The Game.